Welcome to everyone. My name is Shrikant Hayagriva. This is my second lesson on the National Education Policy. Till now, I have conducted one video on the National Education Policy. In this video, I am going to go to the second topic in the National Education Policy, that is on the school education. Right. So in this class, in this video, I am going to explain about the school education. Content of this video is about the part 1 of National Education Policy, that is about school education, and there are 8 chapters in this part. These 8 chapters are: first one is early childhood care and education, second one is foundational education, third is universal access, fourth is curriculum and pedagogy, fifth one is teachers, sixth one is on inclusive education, seventh one is on effective governance, and eighth one is accreditation. So these are 8 chapters. For your information, I have done in the first video about the making of the policy, and also I gave an overview of this policy. Now let us start with the school education with the chapter number 1, that is on early childhood care and education. And in this video, I will share with you all the important aspects which I felt important with you. This policy says that there is cumulative child development. That means child's cumulative brain development occurs prior to the age of 6. So to the extent of 85% of the brain development happens before 6. So this policy highlights the importance of the early childhood education, early child care and education, and before grade 1 only it should happen, and the target of this policy is to provide the early childhood care and education before 2030. So that means whoever the student enters into the school, that is grade 1, should be done with the early childhood care and education by 2030. A national curricular and pedagogical framework for early childhood care and education, that is NCP FECCE, for the children up to the age of 8 will be developed by NCERT. So NCERT is going to develop this NCP FECCE and in 2 sub-frameworks. So what are these 2 sub-frameworks? That is from 0 to 3 years and 4 to 8 years. So there will be 2 sub-frameworks of this NCPFECCE, that is up to 0 to 3 years and 4 to 8 years. Then we know the institutions of Anganwadis. Anganwadis are developed in India to cater to the needs of the poorer sections in the village areas. These institutions are very important in the development, in the nutrition, in the nourishment of the children, whoever the poor and marginal people. So these are very reputed institutions which work under various ministries. Various ministries fund these institutions, and now the policy focuses on the making these institutions either standalone institutions, which functions on their own, or work in cooperation with the primary schools and preschools. So this policy lays emphasis on the Anganwadis, which either become standalone institutions or work in cooperation with the primary schools and preschools. Then prior to grade 1, every student of age 5 need to go to Bal Vatikas. So what are Bal Vatikas and other preparatory classes? These are the extended institutions of the Anganwadi. So these extended Anganwadi institutions, according to me, I understand, as far as my understanding goes, these are Bal Vatikas and the preparatory classes with ECCE qualified teacher. And what is ECCE qualified teacher and who is this ECCE qualified teacher? Let us look in further slides. So the government is going to come up with the 2 courses. First one is a 6 months training program, and second one is a 1-year diploma course. So what is the 6 months training program? 6-month training program for the people, for the teachers who qualified 10 plus 2, and 1-year diploma for who are having the lower qualifications. So these people are going to be trained and given certificates as ECCE qualified teachers. And the mode of these courses should be distance or digital modes through DTH channels, smartphones, and the content will be numeracy and literacy. So this is about the two courses, and whoever qualified these two courses will be designated as the ECCE qualified teachers. Henceforth, there is some kind of standardization, some kind of quality framework for the teachers. Then ECCE to be included in the tribal areas also. We know the problems of tribal areas. Tribal areas are with lack of resources and with lack of many facilities like traveling facilities, etc. So these institutions like ashram shalas, these ashram shalas are going to come in the tribal areas, and in the form of alternative schooling in a phased manner they are going to get implemented. So these ashram shalas will be the balvatikas or the preparatory classes for the tribal areas. Then planning and implementation of ECCE comes into place. As I explained, the Anganwadi institutions are developed over a period of time into the centers of many programs like undernourishment under the Women and Child Development Ministry, and some kind of vaccination under the Health and Family Welfare Ministry, in tribal areas under Tribal Welfare Ministry. Also, these Anganwadi teachers teach us some kind of basic education in the under the Human Resource Development Ministry. So all these are going to be come under ECCE now, and this ECCE planning and implementation should be done by all these ministries. This is about the first chapter, that is early childhood care and education. Now let us enter into the second chapter, that is foundational education. According to this policy, foundational education includes the basic literacy and numeracy. What is literacy? In literacy, basic reading and writing are made part of, and in the arithmetic, basic arithmetics like multiplications, additions, division, subtractions, all these are included in the arithmetic. So foundational education focuses on these two outcomes like basic literacy and the numeracy. Then the universal foundational education up to grade 3 is at a primary school level by 2025 is the target given by the target set up by the government. So as in case of before grade 1 there should be ECCE. Similarly, before up to grade 3 there will be foundational education. What is foundational education? I already explained earlier. That means two outcomes, basic literacy and numeracy should be taught to all the students up to the age of 3. So this is outcome based target that is set up by the government, and this will be done in a high priority basis. National Mission on Foundational Literacy and Numeracy is going to be constituted by the government under the Ministry of Human Resource Development. I explained you about the foundational, what is foundational literacy and numeracy, and then what is National Mission. Already we have seen this Swachh Bharat Mission, Jal Jeevan Mission, which means a concerted program to achieve some targets by coordinating various ministries is called the mission. So now this national mission is going to come with a clear-cut timeline of 2025 to achieve targets which this mission identifies. So this mission also works in coordination with the states and UT governments. So this is about national mission. Then this policy also says the pupil to teacher ratio. So what is this pupil to teacher ratio? Pupil to teacher ratio is number of students per one particular teacher. Now recruitment of teachers to fill vacancies is going to be taken up, and this pupil to teacher ratio to be maintained at 30:1 at each school level and 25:1 at disadvantaged and socio-economically disadvantaged students. So these are two important things, like that means 25 students per one teacher and one teacher per 30 students in normal areas. In the tribal areas, we know that in tribal areas there are more difficulties, students enrollment is less and many people do not come to school. So keeping in view these problems, this is 25:1. Then what is curriculum? Curriculum means syllabus. What is the syllabus at the foundational level? Already we have I explained you what are the outcomes of the syllabus. Now let us go into the curriculum directly. This curriculum should include the reading, writing, speaking, counting, arithmetic and mathematical thinking. So all these are to be included as a syllabus at the foundational level. So reading, writing of alphabets and words, sentences, etc. Speaking, there are many initiatives that are taken by the government, but this is at the national level recognition about the speaking of various languages on the subjects, and accounting and arithmetic, that means basic arithmetic and numeracy, and then mathematical thinking need to be inculcated in the student by introducing him to some basic concepts. Then there is a clear cut mention of specific hour learning and year on activities. That means student need to learn for a particular time period, particular number of hours. For example, right now we go to school at students go to school at 9 o'clock and complete there at 4 o'clock. Like there is some kind of 8 hours, 6 hours of learning, so that should be maintained. Then year on activities like science fairs, museum, science fairs and activities and the competitions, it may be essay competition or these kind of activities. That means year on activities need to happen. Then important suggestion is formative assessment is going to be introduced. What is formative assessment? Right now we are having summative assessment. Summative assessment means the marks will be given to you. That means your mark sheet or your assessment sheet will be including only the marks at the end of the course or end of the year, but not whatever the activities and the marks that you got during your completion of course. But the formative and adaptive assessment, as far as my understanding goes, is a kind of mark sheet will be included as a part of your final memo or final certification. There will be inclusion of all these activities, whatever you did, what you did over a period of time, and what you did during your quarterly exams, half yearly exams, and various activities like NCC activities. So all of these are going to be assessed. Then to cover uncovered students, a 3-month school preparatory module for grade 1 students is going to be implemented. And why this program? We know that in rural areas and in a country like India, there are problems for the governments to implement ECCE everywhere. There may be money problems, there may be lack of human resources, there may be lack of awareness among the people, local administration. So keeping this in view, government came out with a 3-month preparation module, school preparation module, which is framed by the NCERT and SCERTs. So this is a standard preparation module. So this is going to come for grade 1 students. So grade 1 students, when they join, there will be 3 months of the school preparatory module, and this include the activities, workbooks for learning alphabets, sounds, words, colors, shapes, numbers. All these basic ECCE activities are going to be included, and this will be conducted. This module will be conducted with the cooperation of the parents, teachers, and also the civil society members and organizations from the civil society. Then there will be a repository of high quality resources on the foundational literacy and numeracy. This is to be made available on the digital infrastructure for knowledge sharing, Diksha. What is this high quality resource? We know that there are websites like EPG Pathshala, NPTEL, all these are high quality resources of various courses by reputed people from reputed faculty from reputed institutions. So now that kind of high quality resources on foundational literacy and numeracy to be made available for the school students as well. Along with that, what is the purpose of this high quality human resource? Purpose of this resource is to make the teachers and the students familiar with the subject. And also there are language barriers in a country like India, where teachers of one particular language background go to another state of another language, or the school or the village level teachers do not have the proper and very adequate speaking capacity, or the teachers from the towns and cities and multi cities, big cities, they cannot do same equally with the local languages. So this is going to be a problem. So do away with these kind of problems. To do away with the language barriers, there is a high quality repository is going to be created. To encourage community participation in foundational education. So we know that there are many civil society institutions, there are many organizations and the CSR funds, so many foundations, these are working on the education. So this policy is going to encourage the community participation in foundational education to make the education joyful and involving every literate member of the community. So the education is not limited to the school, it is open to the community. Then a national book promotion policy is going to be framed to promote enjoyable and inspirational motivational books through school, local and digital libraries. Books play an important role nowadays. There is the habit of reading books is going down and down. So to ensure that, the government is going to take this policy, frame this policy and release this policy, and there are library infrastructure is also going to be set up at the school level, at the local level and at the digital libraries, keeping in view of the next generation. Then we know that midday meals are being produced, are provided at the government schools for the socio-economically backward students. Now the provision of breakfast along with the midday meals is going to be implemented. Some state governments are also implementing this right now, but there is at national level a policy doctrine that is given is some simple and nutritious meal. Even if it is not feasible, then small meals like groundnuts, chana mixed with jaggery and the local fruits will be served to the students, because there are studies by the government which says that the people who came after eating the breakfast to the schools, their performance is very good and very interesting than that of the other students. So keeping in view, this is being taken up. Then frequent health checkups to be made, and 100% immunization in the school is to be a priority. We know that in school level there are health camps, health checkups and immunization like pulse polio program and many other vaccinations. So all these are going to be taken up at the school level as well. This is about second chapter, that is foundational education. Now let us go to the third chapter, that is universal access. So government mentions a statistic that 75th round of the household survey by National Sample Survey Office under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation for the year 2017-18, there are 3.22 crore students in between the age group of 6 to 17. Look, 3.22 crore people are out of school. So this is a very important static in India that the policy quotes. So there is another important factor, that is gross enrollment ratio. What is gross enrollment ratio? Gross enrollment ratio is the number of students who enrolled in the formal schools between a particular age group out of total number of children exist in that particular category. For example, gross enrollment ratio of 6 to 8 years is 90.9%. They are enrolled, means remaining 10%, approximately 10% students are out. In 9 to 10 class, it is 79.3%. In at 11 and 12 classes, it is 56.5%, which means a 10% drop from 90 to 80 approximately, and from 80 to 56, that means almost 24% points dropped. So all these people are dropout students. The aim of this policy is to make this gross enrollment ratio 100% from the preschool to secondary by 2030. This policy also talks about re-establishment of the credibility of the government institutions like schools by upgrading quality, by providing hostels, especially for girl children and migrant laborers. So government infrastructure need to be upgraded, and not by forcing the students to come to government institutions, but the quality enhancement of the government schools itself attracts the people to join in it. Then alternative and innovative education centers in cooperation with the civil society need to be taken. So what are these alternative and innovative education systems? That is with the process of information and communication technology and with the involvement of various civil society institutions, there is going to be some educational centers which are to be set up, and to ensure that the socio-economically disadvantaged people come to school, come to these education centers, and they can catch up the talents of the mainstream education. Universal participation in schools. This will carefully be after carefully tracking the students and making and assessing their learning levels. Now there is a problem that students who missed the school for 6 months or 1 year or 2 year or so, they face huge problem in finding seats. So to do away with it, there is carefully tracking and assessing the learning levels to ensure enrollment and attendance, and to provide an opportunity to re-enter school. This is very important. So an opportunity to re-enter the schools is being provided, is being advocated by this policy for the students who are actually dropped out. Then counselors, trained workers and teachers are to work continuously for students, because at the school level, all the teachers are confined to the schools. So civil societies are working separately. Now to integrate all these people as a form of counselors, so that they encourage students to come and attend the classes in the schools, so that there may be learning by attending a principle to be implemented, like school students need to come and attend the school, and those people whoever enrolled for the schools, they need to come regularly to the school complexes to read. Then this is an incentive structure. There is a proposed incentive structures for the teachers, because there is no incentive for the teachers right now apart from whatever they get as increments and etc. Now this policy focuses on the incentives for the teachers, and with the for incentives for learning the local languages and going and interacting with the people, so that make interacting with the local communities and to bring the students into the school. So based on all these activities, there will be some incentives given to the teachers. So teachers will get attracted to these kind of incentives, so they learn local languages and they attract the students to the classes. So this is what the aim of this activity. Then open and distance learning programs need to be already offered by the National Institute of Open Schooling, need to be given special priority, which means a socio-economically disadvantaged students, they cannot afford to come to schools, they cannot stay in towns and villages where their school is located. So open and distance learning can fill this gap by providing some kind of curriculum to the students based on some authentic and standard institution like National Institute of Open Schooling. So this is one of the aims, so that they can come to the mainstream education. Then National Institute of Open Schooling and state open school institutions to develop programs like ABC levels. So what are these ABC level programs? These are equivalent to the grades 3, 4 and 8 of school system. So open schooling and the formal regular schooling need to be matched in terms of their courses. So that what happens, for example, a student completed B level at the open schooling can be treated as a student who qualified the 5th grade in the formal school. So there is some kind of match. Similar pattern is also being implemented for the grade 10, grade 12 in the vocational education and adult literacy programs also, so that to make all these open school, vocational courses and adult literacy programs in comparison with the regular schooling, so as to make the education a formal and standard for everyone. Then the greater emphasis on learning outcomes. Right now the schools are being accredited and their inspections etc based on the infrastructure, class strength and number of benches, students and infrastructure, labs and computer etc. But now the learning outcome based system is going to be put in place. So this is one important point. And second is that the governments and philanthropic organizations like foundations, CSR funded organizations like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In India, we know about the Ajim Premji Foundation. So all these philanthropic organizations are going to be encouraged to, as a local variants, an alternative mode of education to be promoted. Like what is local variations? There may be changes in the education pattern at some state in the south and some state in the north and east and west. So all these are going to be implemented in the local context of the education. This is about third chapter, that is universal access. And now let us go to the fourth chapter, that is curriculum and pedagogy. Precisely, curriculum and pedagogy means the syllabus. Now there is one important curriculum and pedagogy to a new design. What is this new design? That is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 design from existing 10 plus 2 system. 10 plus 2 system that exists today is going to be changed into the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 design. Now let us look with this diagram. What is this about? We have 10 classes at the school level. Now this is being broken up into these three levels: half of middle, preparatory and foundational courses. Then secondary school is a mixture of presently this and 9th and 10th classes. So this 5 years of foundational education, 3 classes or 3 years of preparatory, 3 years of middle education, 4 years of secondary education, all constitutes 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 system. So ages and the classes are visible in this diagram. So this is the proposed new system, and this is the existing system. Now let us look into what constitutes in the foundational and later then all the stages. The foundational stage will be 5 years. That is, first part is 5. Then it will be a flexible play activity based learning and curriculum and pedagogy of ECCE. ECCE I explained earlier. So ECCE is going to be covered up along with 2 classes in the foundational stage. Then preparatory stage. This is in 3 years. And what is the curriculum here? That is play, discovery, activity based approach and incorporation of light textbooks. Like along with the play, discovery and activities in the earlier stage, there is going to be a light textbooks going to be introduced, and interactive classroom learning, and to lay solid groundwork for the across the subjects like reading, writing, speaking, physical education, arts and languages, science and mathematics. So in this stage there is going to be some introduction of the textbooks will be done. Next one is middle stage. This is 3 years and introduction of learning of the abstract concepts, like subject teachers are going to be introduced, abstract concept teaching and specialized subjects and experimental learning, exploration of relations among different streams. Look my dear friends, this is very important, that relation among the different streams like science, mathematics, arts and social sciences, humanities is important, because in the future to promote the research culture, interdisciplinary approach is very important. So that is being taken care of this policy. Then this policy talks about reduction of the curriculum. We know that what is curriculum? Curriculum is a syllabus. Till now any policy speaks about increasing curriculum, but this policy reduces about the reduced number of books on the students, and there is all the subjects which are unnecessary are being teach. This is a very great opinion among many teachers and student community, because they are reading whatever is unnecessary right now. So now this policy focuses on reducing each subject to its core essentials, to make space for critical thinking, holistic inquiry based, discovery based, discussion based, analysis based learning experience. So not the rote learning system that is there right now. Number of books are going to come down. There will be space for critical thinking and also a cognitive development. Then wherever possible, medium of instructions at least up to grade 5 and further will be in home language, mother tongue, local language or regional language. We know that in India there are a lot of languages which are going extinct. Right now, various studies shows that there are almost 780 plus languages are being spoken in India. Out of them, 400 languages are under extinction threat. That means after a particular period of time, there may be the language may be lost in its all forms. So this is very important, and there is emergence of scriptures, literature in some languages like Gondi language, some languages in the Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh are emerging right now. So keeping these two trends in view, there is a healthy encouragement to the students to learn their mother language, regional language, local language, so that to protect them. In this process, we face some problem called bilingual bilingual problems, like student becomes to student mother tongue is different, faculty is from other mother tongue with English expertise. So what happens is there is a miscommunication. So to do away with it, there is bilingual teaching and learning methods, like learning first is teachers and then teaching methods and then material. So all these are going to come in a bilingual manner to encourage this local and regional language learning. Then there is three language formula in India from times from very two last 4 or 5 decades or so, but we fail to implement all over the country the three language formula. Now with the increased integration of country, because a person from north comes to south for the software job, or from south to north to another job or something, so there is more regional integration, so national integration, so there is requirement of multiple language learning by all the students. So keeping this in view, there is a three language formula which is going to which is given a new kind of approach by mandatory learning of two languages out of three languages should be native to India. So this is an important thing that is focused in this policy. Then there is languages in this policy are covered into three phases, my dear friends. First is Sanskrit, and then some classical languages, and then foreign languages. So now let me start with the Sanskrit. Sanskrit is a modern language with classical literature. Why it is modern language? Because it is one of the language in the 8th schedule of the constitution. Along with it, there is huge classical literature available in the Sanskrit from various fields like maths, philosophy, grammar, music, politics, medicine, architecture, metallurgy, drama, poetry, storytelling, religious and non-religious. So all these are grouped together called Sanskrit knowledge systems by this policy. That means Sanskrit as a language and the classical literature which is there in the Sanskrit in all these fields which I mentioned on the screen right now. So these all are included into something called Sanskrit knowledge systems, and all these are come together, and there is emphasis on this. Now there is an important statistic, that the important thing that this policy mentions is the classical literature in Sanskrit is far more than that of the Latin and Greek, that is European classical languages put together. So that is the volume of the and importance of the Sanskrit language. Now, Sanskrit language as an option in the three language formula need to be interesting and enjoyable. So, first students need to learn Sanskrit as a language. Then they will be exposed to the phonetics, pronunciation of the Sanskrit. Then in a gradual manner they will be introduced to the Sanskrit knowledge systems. So, the process will be first by simple and standard Sanskrit, and then the program of STS, that means Sanskrit through the Sanskrit, that means all the Sanskrit classical literature through the simple Sanskrit that they learned. So this is first language, and then pronunciation and phonetics, and then knowledge systems. So this is all about the Sanskrit, promotion of Sanskrit and the Indian ethos, Indian language. Then we come to second part of the language, that is classical languages. There are classical languages in India based on some definition. The government selected these as the classical languages. Those are Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam and Odia. These are classical languages which are having 1,000+ years of literature, large number of people speaking. There are various types of dramas, poetry, prose and etc. came. So the classical languages along with some three languages mentioned by this policy are Pali, Persian and Prakrit. And what are these classical languages, my dear friends? That is Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam and Odia. These four are South Indian languages. That means people in the south speak these languages. And Odia is a language which is also added. These are called as the classical languages. And the Pali is a Buddhist texts are there in this language. And Persian language, we know many administrative terms that we use right now, like Rayat is a thing, and Mausam. All these are Persian language terms. Then Prakrit is an undercurrent in all the Indian languages which influences the speaking patterns. So these three languages along with the classical languages need to be preserved by including a 2 year uh, course, 2 year option of 2 years in between 6th and 12th, and also an option at the middle stages and the secondary stage, and beyond also students can learn these classical languages. Then we come to foreign languages, which are third part of the languages. These foreign languages are important because Indian diaspora is moving outside, and there is tourism, there is etc. So all the foreign languages became important right now. So keeping in this view, languages such as Korean, Japanese, Thai, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Russian to be offered the secondary level. So because of this information and communication technology jobs, Indians are going outwards, Indians are going to Middle East for the tourism and etc. And also for the jobs we are going to, Indians are going to Thai and the Southeast Asian nations. So all these languages are being focused comprehensively in this part. Now this is about languages. Then sign language. Sign language is for the physically disabled people, that means the Divyang people. So there will be Indian Sign Language which will be standardized with the symbols and etc. Across the country, and the national and state curriculum materials are going to be developed for the students with the learning impairments, hearing impairments, sorry. Then subjects like artificial intelligence, design thinking, and holistic health, organic and environmental education are going to be offered to the students at the school level. Now these are being taught to the students like artificial intelligence and design thinking at the later stages. After completion of their graduation, technical graduation, people are doing these courses for the software jobs. Now these are coming into the school education to teach them as early as possible about them, because we are going to, India is going to be a knowledge economy where this plays a very important role. So this curriculum and pedagogy, as a part of curriculum and pedagogy, all these are going to be introduced. Then a practice based 10 days bagless period of curriculum and internships. So not only books and bags, there is also an important aspect, that is bagless period of curriculum, where interaction based local vocational experts like carpenters, gardeners, potters and artists to the grades 6 to 8, and similarly internships for the 6th through 12th. 6th through 12th means middle and secondary phase of education, all these are going to be included. So these courses, that means this curriculum and internships also will be designed by the NCERT under the school curriculum, which is going to come come in the future. Then similar to the Sanskrit knowledge systems, there are Indian knowledge systems like ethnic medicine, traditional cropping, tribal knowledge, maths, astronomy, philosophy, yoga, architecture, agriculture, engineering, linguistics, literature, sports, games, governance, polity, conservation at the secondary stage level. Secondary means 9 to 12 classes. So in these 4 years, we know what is ethnic medicine, like small turmeric and etc. we use. These are traditional and ethnic medicines. Then there are tribal medicine also, like various herbs and roots of various plants and trees. Traditional cropping, every farmer is having some knowledge about cropping. And there is tribal knowledge, which is very tribal knowledge is also considerable in India, which is mathematics is there, and astronomy. This means calculations and all the year charts that we use and etc. And what is philosophy, Indian philosophy, yoga and temple architecture and normal architecture and agricultural and engineering. So all these concepts are going to come at the secondary stage level. Then along with Indian traditional knowledge, Indian values, that means values that are taught by Buddha, Jaina, etc. all these, and Vedic system, and then constitutional values like liberty, equality, fraternity. The seva means service to all, ahimsa, non-violence, swachhata, that means cleanliness, satya, that means truth, nishkama karma, that means selfless service, shanti, that is peace. So all these to be developed in the students. Then Panchatantra, Jataka and Hitopadesha, these are having international reputation right now. What is Panchatantra, Jataka and Hitopadesha? Jataka is related to some tales to Buddhist literature, tales to explain some basic morality, ethics to students and people. And Panchatantra and Hitopadesha are based on some small tales, folk tales of animals and humans, so that they teach us some kind of values, some ethical code of conduct that they teach. And we know the Indian constitution, excerpts of Indian constitution, that also be considered to be very valuable and and they promote the ethical conduct. So all these are going to be included to the school level. Then there is local context and ethos. If something is taught in European context, rather than that, same concept if taught in Indian concept, Indian local context, people will be able to understand. Like in science, rather than giving any kind of foreign or the non-local kind of explanation, then the local context with explanations and examples, that will give us very great things. So this policy focuses on Indian local context and Indian ethos. So culture, tradition, heritage, customs, languages, philosophy, geography, ancient and contemporary knowledge, societal and scientific needs, and indigenous and traditional way of learning. So all these are going to be focused with the in the Indian context. Then National Curricular Framework for School Education 2021 is going to be framed by the NCERT according with this National Education Policy 2020. So after discussion with all the stakeholders like state governments, department of the central governments, and also the regional languages, experts from the regional languages, and also this is going to be updated for every 5 to 10 years. Now we know that the books that students are using right now are older more than 10 years. So framed more than 10 years ago and revised more than 10 years ago, so that need to be done away with, so that there is fixed revision of all this content in every 5 to 10 years. Then a progress card is only for the towns and private schools. So this progress card to be made holistic, 360-degree, and that is going to reflect the cognitive, affective, psychomotor domains, and including assessment and peer assessment, self-assessment and peer assessment, project-based progress under the guidance from proposed National Assessment Center and NCERT and SCERT. So there is a very standard and comprehensive progress card to be made and to be uh, given to the parents about the student by the national institutions. Then next recommendation is about the board exams. Board exams are right now held for only 1 year, after 1 year. But right now, to do away with it, there will be two sets of board examinations. One as main examination and other as an improvement exam. And that too, pattern of exam should be objective and descriptive type. Not only written examinations of rote learning, there should be some objective type exams and the subjective exams. So 2 times, that is the formative or adaptive kind of assessment, as I explained earlier, to be done rather than summative at the one point in 1 year. Then National Assessment Center and PARAK, which means Performance Assessment Review and Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development. This is to undertake the National Assessment Survey of Learning Outcomes. So a standardization of assessment at the national level to look at some kind of standard assessment of all the students across the country. So that is going to be done by this. Then innate talents in every student must be discovered, nurtured, fostered, and developed. Some students are gifted with some innate talents. So it is important to recognize them at the early age. If we don't recognize them, if a teacher don't recognize them, then those talents may be unrecognized and those students also do not come at the high level. Like we have seen many people, child prodigy, like mathematical prodigy, like Shakuntala Devi and all the people, these are having very innate talents, and the teacher need to grasp that this particular student is having innate talent. For that, to train the teacher to identify these kind of innate talents, a B.Ed program is also be introduced, a specialization in the education of these kind of gifted children with innate talents. Then Olympiads and competition exams are going to be implemented and conducted across the country to encourage some kind of competitive spirit in the students at the very young age, and clear coordination and progression from the schools to local, to state, and to national levels, to ensure that all the students may participate at all levels, and online apps with the quizzes and assessment. So the Olympiads and competitions are going to be implemented at a very rapid and large scale than today. So this is about fourth chapter, which is a comprehensive chapter. Next, let us enter into the teachers. This policy also talks about teachers. to catch the outstanding students to enter into teaching profession. In the rural areas need to be focused. So how this can be focused? Because by promoting the studies of 4-year integrated B.Ed programs along with some other subject which they want to study. So this merit based scholarships are also going to be launched for the students to do the B.Ed programs and M.Ed programs, etc., to encourage the outstanding students to come to the teaching profession. Then the harmful practice of frequent teacher transfers. This makes a great mismatch between the student and the teacher. So student need to be connected in match with the students and the teachers to learn something. But now what happens is frequent transfers are from here to there to here. This need to be halted so that to create some kind of teacher student relationship for the congenial and proper learning. Then teacher eligibility test is going to be strengthened to inculcate a better test material, because right now teacher eligibility tests are done for very subject specific kind of thing. Now it is going to be very vast scale teacher eligibility test with much subject, and to that should be separate for the students of foundational preparatory module, middle and secondary school education. According to the present policy, there is a revamp in the teacher eligibility test that is proposed by this policy. Then schools and school complexes will be encouraged to hire the local eminent persons or experts like master instructor. So why this master instructor is important? He is important because to inculcate the traditional local arts, vocational crafts, entrepreneurship, agriculture, promote local knowledge and profession. So master instructors need to be recruited by the school and school complexes so that the students can be taught in a professional manner about all these local arts and etc. That is the suggestion of this policy. Then there will be autonomy given to the school complexes. Why there should be autonomy to the school complexes? These school complexes can decide the local context and local explanations in the local languages through, of course, the process of bilingualism. So this may teach in a manner they find most effective to the students in their classroom. So students need to be understood based on the local context, for which there should not be any imposition from the top. So to do away with it, there is autonomy to choose the aspects of pedagogy to the school complexes. So it also talks about the continuous professional development of teachers by attending at least 50 hours of training every year, and their own for the professional development in their own categories, of course. So professional and continuous development of teachers is being focused. Then a merit-based structure, tenure, promotion and salary incentives need to be done. We know that in government schools there is very lack of encouragement for the innovation and for alternative model of learning. There is always rote learning is being promoted, and teacher need to prepare diaries and need to correct the papers and need to explain students. But now there is a new tenure, promotion, salary, incentive structure is being developed to attract the teachers and also to explain them and to also encourage them to follow. Then a system of multiple parameters for proper assessment and performance will be developed based on the peer reviews. So based on the very great reviews by the multiple persons at the same level, also some experts, there is going to be a structure which is to be prepared and released according to this policy. Then National Professional Standards for Teachers, that is NPST, to be developed by 2020 by a restructured professional standard setting body under General Education Council in consultation with NCERT, SCERTs and the expert bodies. So there is going to be a common guiding set of national standards for the teachers. So these are also going to be reviewed by in every 10 years. So once in 10 years. So there is framing and review also proposed by this policy. So based on that, students need to grade up their skills and talents. So to match up with these kind of professional standards, teachers need to work. Then a minimum degree qualification in teaching will be 4-year integrated B.Ed. So to not to allow whoever who want to teach to the students, this policy do not permit like that structure. There is going to be some 4-year integrated B.Ed degree or 2-year B.Ed program for people who already done their bachelor degree in a specialized subject. So minimum educational standards for the teachers of all levels are being proposed. Then a special and shorter local teacher education program to be available. What is this BIT, DIT? These are block and district level training institutions uh, which are developed to maintain standards right now, and all these institutions are going to be specialized and strengthened, uh, and these people also to be appointed at the school complexes, so with the eminent local persons who can who can be hired to teach all the schools as a master instructor to promote local professionals and local knowledge and the skills. So existing systems like these institutions need to be strengthened to with and they need to be trained with the master instructors so that teachers will be efficient in explaining the local language and local traditions. Then international pedagogical approaches are to be adopted after the study of NCERT. So NCERT is to study a research document and then publish the document, so that so to adopt those pedagogies into the practices that are going on currently in India. So this is also a suggestion of this policy. Then national curriculum framework is going to be released, as I explained in earlier, and this is going to be revised for every 5 to 10 years in accordance with the policy, and this is going to become in 2020-21, and from 2022-23 academic year approximately this is going to be implemented. And there are multiple teacher education institutions, so there should be a restoration of integrity of these institutions, so stringent punishments and actions to be taken against these institutions if they do something which is not up to standard or substandard teaching. Then the shutting them down can also be considered if they are substandard. This is about the fifth concept, the fifth chapter, that is about teachers. Now let us go to sixth chapter, that is inclusive education. Socio-economically disadvantaged groups. These are very broadly defined, the disadvantaged groups based on gender, socio-cultural identities and geographical disabilities and socio-economic. So all these, along with the socio-economic conditions, all these will be taken up to define the disadvantaged groups in a most comprehensive manner by this policy. Then this UDISE is a unified district information system for education. This is a repository of all the school information at the district level. So according to that, 19.6% of students of SCs at the primary level and 17.3 at the secondary level. That means 2% drop. Then in ST students it is 10.6% at the primary school level and 6.8% at the upper school, at the secondary level. And then differently abled children 1.1% and 0.25%. This trend also varies with the female students. So these statistics are showing that less number of students are being enrolled at the higher stages than the lower stages. So this is an observation made by this policy. And there is aspirational districts. We know that government recently formed 150 plus aspirational districts to frame a separate developmental strategy. So in the similar manner, there will be special education zones that are going to come to change the landscape. So that is targeted approach on these special education zones to design some local specific strategies and to implement them. Then there is going to be a gender inclusion fund. Like recently government formed PM CARES fund for the coronavirus, etc. So there is gender inclusion fund to be built. So to build the national capacity to provide equitable quality education with transgender students, and this fund is going to be funded by both by government and also by the philanthropy organizations. So this gender inclusion fund is going to be concentrating all its resources on the girl and transgender education. Then free boarding facilities to be built in the standards of Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya and Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya in the school locations where the students from socio-economically disadvantaged groups comes. So we know that Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalayas are one of the very reputed institutions in India, and Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya. In lines of these, there are multiple institutions are going to come, starting from the preschool to the grade 12, especially for the girl students. Then alternative form of schools to be encouraged, like traditional pedagogical styles in accordance with the national curriculum, uh, and there should be financial assessment for the introduction of science, mathematics, social studies, Hindi, English, state languages, and the curriculum as designed by these schools. There are many local and traditional schools like madrasas and etc. Also some Vedic pathshalas which are being run. So all these are to be come under the NCFSE, and there will be incentives, there will be financial assistance will be given if they implement this kind of mathematics, social studies, Hindi and English, etc. Then there are multiple scholarships in India, so do away with much confusion. There is a single window system that is going to be developed with a single agency, so that the students need to avail all these opportunities in accordance with the all the systems. And some students may be suffering from lack of awareness, they may suffer with some kind of reasons, but with one single window system these can be addressed. This is about the sixth chapter. Now let us enter into the seventh, that is effective governance of schools and institutions. Again, UDISE data shows that 28% of India's public primary schools and 14.8% of India's upper primary schools are having less than 30 students. That means these institutions are having less than 30 students. And the average students is about 14 among all these students, all the number. Then a notable institutions are having below 6, and there are 1,08,017 single teacher schools and 85,743 are of the grade 1 and 5. So this shows us the complete picture of the schools at the district level. There is average student is 30 and large proportion is less than 14 and below 6. So 1 lakh plus schools are with single teachers. So with a single, we can assume that with single teacher, what these people can gain. So keeping in this view, a small school size is made economically suboptimal and operationally very complex to run as a good school. So all these schools are running for the namesake, and it is very important and very difficult to identify these schools and how to make them efficient and effective. Keeping in this view, this policy promotes the rationalization of schools to set up school complexes for every 5 to 10 kilometers radius based on using ICT tools and virtual classes, student support. So these are viable. So by 2025, this policy is going to rationalize the schools, and a school complex are going to be rationalized, and there is one particular school complex for 5 to 10 kilometers, and by using all these tools, ICT tools, virtual classes and student support, that these school complexes can impart the more talent and more education to the students than that of the earlier. Then the governance of the student, governance to be efficient, and school complexes clusters or the school clusters act as a semi-autonomous units under the district education officer and the block education officer, and these are going to be in charge of school complexes. So under the in charge of district level and block level education officers, these work as semi-autonomous institutions. They can recruit the master instructor, and they can design the curriculum on the local context, so as to help these students to develop on their own to meet the local context, but not from the guided from the top. Then national curricular framework and the state curricular framework will be empowered to cater the needs of the school complexes, and the school complex work as a single unit, and this will facilitate the work of the school complexes and clusters. So this policy, which is national curricular and state curricular frameworks, should not try to restrict these, but they need to facilitate the activity and working of the school complexes to develop their own school development plans, also to execute them. Then best practices of the private schools will be documented, shared, and also shared with the private public schools, and vice versa. Public schools best practice also need to be shared with the private schools, keeping in view that primary school system entirely in India is not governed by the government. There are large number of private schools in the towns and also in some villages. There is also simultaneous existence of government schools. So there is some kind of change of exchange of ideas and processes, best practices to develop both simultaneously. Then states and UTs to be encouraged to strengthen and expand Bal Bhavans. What are these Bal Bhavans? Bal Bhavans are places where children can visit with the activities like art, career, play related activities. All these activities are developed like science fair model or some kind of museum model of institutions are going to be built, and children should visit these Bal Bhavans more often to enhance their perspective about these art, career, and play related activities. Then infrastructure of schools to be used to promote social, intellectual, volunteer activities for the community during non-teaching and non-schooling times. So school complexes which are developed in as clusters areas, those need to be centers for the community activities like community people, and there are many civil societies. So all these people should come to schools, and every literate person of community can come to school and they engage with the students. So school clusters are not the boundary, the encircled institutions, but these are open institutions to everyone. So make these school complexes as samajik chetana kendras. That means socially very active, and to meet the needs of society and to learn from the society. This is about 7th chapter. Now let us come to the process, the chapter of accreditation. There is regulation must aim at trust and excellence and integrity. Now we know that the regulation system is corruption, suffering from corruption, and there is large number of regulations, so that the regulatory officer can also demand some kind of things and perks and something, etc. So do away with all these kind of bad practices and corruption. So there is a trust, excellence, and integrity are the aims of this regulatory system, and the enforcement of complete transparency and full public discourses of all finances, all procedures, and all educational outcomes to make it as transparent and corruption free system. Then main function of governance of school education are handled by a single body. Right now Department of School Education or its arms are starting from the framing of syllabus, making question papers, conducting the exams, correcting the papers, and also regulation. All is done by Department of School Education or its arms in many states. So there is a conflict of interest, like one body doing all the things is leading to conflict of interest. So this also leading to excessive centralization and ineffective management. So this is observation made by this policy, and to eliminate this conflict of interest, Department of School Education to be responsible for overall monitoring and policy making of the public education system, and not to be involved in the operation and regulation of students to ensure improvement in the public schools. So Department of School Education should limit its role to overall monitoring and policy making, and it is clearly no involvement in the operation and or regulation of the schools. So that is suggestion of this policy based on the observation it made. Educational operations and services for the public schooling system need to be handled by Directorate of School Education. So the Directorate of School Education, which is not very active as the department, now this directorate will be functioning, will be for the implementation, and the policy making will be done by the Department of School. So there is division of responsibilities between these institutions is being proposed, and this Directorate of Institution is going to work independently and in the implementation and the operation of the provisions. There has been far too much asymmetry between regulatory approaches of the public and private schools. We know that regulation of private schools is different from that of the public schools. So this is the observation made by this policy, and the goals of these two institutions are same. That is to provide quality education. That means there is difference in regulation, but the goal is same. So this is observation of this policy. So to ensure the quality of standards, the state governments and union territories are going to set up independent body, state school standard authority, to formulate minimal set of standards to basic parameters to be followed by all the schools, irrespective of it is private or public school. So there should be common standards if they are working for common goals. So private and public schools, they need to share their practices, they need to work under same standard authority, that is school standard authority, state school standard authority, with a minimal set of standards and more autonomy to these institutions. Then state institutions, state education research and training councils are going to be developing a school quality assessment and accreditation framework. So this is going to facilitate the change management process. We know that there is huge changes that are proposed in this policy, like reinvigoration of CRCs and block level institutions like CRC, community and block institutions, and district institutions like DITES. So all these are going to be changed within 3 years to meet the current and future information and communication technology based platforms. So school quality assessment and accreditation framework is going to be set up at the block level, at the community institutions. So all these are going to work in coordination to facilitate the change, and the responsibility of the change management is given to State Council of Research of Education Research and Training. Then standard setting and regulatory framework and the facilitating system for the school governance to be reviewed frequently. So we know that all these block level and district level institutions framed 10 decades back, but now there's no review process. So this policy aims at very frequent review to for the improvement of the on the basis of experience gained from the previous decade. So all these institutions are rich in experience, but they are not having proper review. So the review should keep in view the previous experiences to meet the future needs. Then the rights of children and adolescents, and the particularly girls, need to be taken care of, because there is huge drug trafficking, substance and drug abuse, discrimination is being happened, harassment and the violence, these are increasing day by day. So all these need to be considered, keeping in view the rights of the children need to be protected. So this is all about the primary education and the important suggestions which I felt need to be shared. And let me summarize in this video. I have shared you my understanding about the part 1 of National Education Policy 2020 on the school education in 8 chapters, and all the important suggestions which I felt important I have discussed with you. I am also going to come up with videos on higher education and implementation of national education policy, and multiple choice question session also I am going to plan to come up with. So please watch all of this, and thanks for watching the present video.